Hi, this is Dave with DK Cattle Company. Today I want to make a quick video talking about my thoughts on renting pasture ground to run any sort of livestock, whether it's sheep, goats, cows like I have. I know it's very popular right now. A lot of people with the cost of land and everything are really considering alternative options to add more acres to their portfolios to be able to either run more animals or feed hay for less months of the year and things of that nature. So I just kind of wanted to make this video to kind of give my thoughts on the subject. I mean, I'm no expert in anything. I'm very new to running cattle in general, but I see how renting pasture ground can be extremely beneficial for people, and then can also be very risky for some people. And I kind of just wanted to make a video talking about those two demographics and kind of how it can help you and how it could potentially put you in a vulnerable situation. So thanks for clicking on this video, and let's talk about it. So what I mean when I say all that is I really think renting pasture ground is a tool for expansion, not a way to start. What I mean by that is if you're starting out and you're renting every acre that you're running your cows or your sheep on, or whatever livestock you have, if that landowner decides to kick you off for whatever reason, life happens to all of us. If that person maybe's moving out of state, maybe they pass away or something like that, you get kicked off that property, where do your cows go then? If you don't have any sort of situation to hold them over before you find something else to rent, then now what? Like, what do you do with these animals that you've accumulated for this set amount of acreage that you're now reduced down to zero? For me, we have a few acres of pasture here, and we're expanding on the property itself, more pasture ground to be able to accommodate more cows and to be able to build the herd. Once we get to capacity on this farm, I could see renting as a very good tool to expand, because it's not as risky for me, because I can graze on another farm, say down the road or even halfway across the county, and if something were to happen with that relationship, I can just retreat back to my home farm and figure it out from there. Maybe I have to feed a few more bales of hay that year or whatever, but there's nothing that could happen with renting land that would be earth-shattering for me. It could only be to my benefit. It's not going to be to my detriment. And that's really the way you have to look at it, as another tool in your tool belt, but not a cheat code to get somewhere way faster than doing it kind of the right way. I'm not saying you need to have 1 million acres of pasture owned and then you go pick up an acre or two. You could have, like, let's say 5 acres of pasture, 10 acres of pasture as your home farm, and maybe that's where you live. You pick those up all across the Midwest for pretty cheap, and then you go from there, and then maybe you do rent 50, 60 acres, but at least you have enough pasture on your own property that if every animal you owned had to come back to the home property, you'd be able to at least accommodate them and hay them out through several months to be able to find a different situation or rent a different piece of land, or liquidate some of them or something of that nature. You kind of just have to have a lot of contingencies in that to make sure that you're not going to kind of be caught with your pants down, sort of thing. So that's some things to consider. Another thing to consider is how much money you're putting into these properties that you don't own. Meaning, if you're going to take like a tillable field and convert it into pasture ground, or if you're going to do some overseeding on some existing or maybe neglected pasture ground, and you're going to put up like permanent fencing and stuff like that, again, depending on how these agreements are structured, you can really get into a situation that you're going to lose your shirt on the whole thing for things that are completely out of your control. So really make sure that you're setting up agreements that are mutually beneficial for both you and the landowner, and also make sure that you're not putting a ridiculous amount of money into a piece of property that isn't yours. They can promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars, but ultimately the landowner owes you nothing. They owe you absolutely nothing, and no matter how much work or money you put into it, if it's not set out in the agreement to be the way it is, then if it doesn't work out that way, it's no one's fault but yours, kind of thing. And even if it's not in your control. So really, if I was gonna rent something, I would focus on trying to find something that doesn't need a crazy amount of work. And then for everything infrastructure wise, like I'm going mobile electric fencing, I'm doing a water tank that I'm filling up with you know, with like the tote waters and stuff, and just filling it that way and stuff. But I'm not adding water lines, I'm not adding permanent fencing, I'm not doing anything crazy like that. But then I'm also gonna graze that property as efficiently as I can to make that pasture ground better and better every year, to give back to the landowner in that way. So kind of that's a way to really set it up to make it mutually beneficial for both parties, and to make sure no one's in a situation where, you know, things could get weird kind of thing. So thanks for watching this video. It's just a little quick rant about what I think about renting pasture ground. I know it's very popular right now. A lot of people my age starting out, you know, they're thinking about that kind of stuff. So just wanted to share my thoughts. I'm no expert. Like I said, I'm just an idiot with a GoPro sharing what I'm thinking about stuff. Please like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're kind of into this, you know, newer farmer type content, and turn on the notifications if you are subscribed, because we have a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're going to be planting 11 acres of pasture this coming weekend. We have a lot of dirt projects, and then we're going to start grazing these cows on pasture pretty soon. So please turn on the notifications if you are subscribed, and leave a comment down below if you rent a farm, or if you're considering renting a pasture ground, maybe what your thoughts or concerns are about that. And if you have any stories about maybe a situation that's worked out for you, or you've heard a situation that didn't work out for somebody else as far as renting pasture ground, kind of how that went, because I'd be curious to hear some stories about that. But y'all have a good one. Thanks. Bye.